one of the moments that was really insane for us was it was a week of finals, so we didn't promote any of the events, and we didn't even announce it on the Instagram. Like, we just said, like, okay, it's happening here. We just posted it, but we didn't hype it up.
Yeah.
And kids showed up, and it was still a big event. We were like, okay, fuck, that's cool.
Yeah.
But we were so focused on the thing that wasn't working that we didn't really understand that. But I would say, like, an advice here is, like, really don't get caught up in the bullshit. Just think about and focus on the things that are working and elevate those and escalate those. Don't get married to an idea.
Purpose in the Youth. Purpose in the Youth podcast. Welcome back to the Purpose in the Youth podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Purpose in the Youth podcast with your favorite bearded man, the one, the only, Bobbbaaaay. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Purpose in the Youth podcast with your favorite bearded man, the one, the only, Bobbbaaaay. Today, I'm very excited. We have Rustin Sotoodeh, the co-founder of E-Coliseum. Welcome to the show, brother.
Thank you for having me, my man.
You know, you are the first person in 125 plus episodes that has anything to do with the esports world.
I can believe it, honestly.
Bro, I've been itching to find somebody. I've sent so many like random Hail Mary to people that are like in Twitch, that are in the industry. Like, growing up as a kid, I love gaming. And so I've been trying to find the right fit of just somebody that has any type of experience in this world. And when I came across E-Coliseum and I came across you, I said, this is the guy. This is the guy. So I'm excited to have you here today, man.
Thank you, man. Yeah, it kind of does make sense, you know, like people still don't really know what esports is. They still pronounce it in weird ways, like esports or e-games, or like when they spell it, it's spelled wrong.
Yeah.
So like we're still getting through that hump.
Would you say LA is like a good hub for that to be?
Oh,
like,
yeah.
This is a good place to be for this type of industry?
Yeah. LA is like, I mean, like, it's a weird way to say it, but LA is like the Hollywood for esports.
Of course.
You know?
Of course.
Yeah.
This is where everybody wants to be. This is where all the dots are getting connected.
Yeah, exactly.
I was honestly pretty timing. I'm big on timing, and I also think things happen for a reason, because when we were supposed to do this podcast last week and timing, it didn't work out.
Yeah.
And it actually worked in my favor because I had a guest earlier in the day and we went longer than normal. So I was
really?
Yeah, it worked out great. But then also what fired me up even more was seeing that last weekend you completed the LA Marathon.
Yes.
But going off of that, I did look into, so you had posted this photo a couple of days ago and I was blown away. You completed your first marathon, the LA Marathon, in 4 hours and 34 minutes. Congrats, by the way.
Thank you,
Huge
boss.
accomplishment.
Thank you.
You're at over 100 days of meditation and journaling, around 86 plus days being sober, 100 pull-ups every Sunday for 10 weeks. What have you learned about yourself since the start of the new year?
That's a great question, because, you know, when I posted that, only a couple people hit me up about like the understanding, like what was the reasoning behind that, right? Because like I didn't want to write this like long ass caption like, hey, you guys got to do this and shit like that, right?
Yeah.
But really what I was trying to say there was like, there are so many benefits to doing that I never imagined would have occurred. Like, I'll give you an example. I think the strongest one was being sober.
I think that was the one that kind of was like, to me, the red flag of like, what's this about? Where is this stemming from?
Really? Yeah. So like, no alcohol, no weed. It wasn't like, it didn't come from a place of like, shit, dude, like I'm on the wrong track. It was just like, can I do it? And like an idiot, I started it December 20 something. So like, for Christmas, for New Year's, I had to be completely sober, you know?
God. You should have gave yourself to the New Year's Day and then said, all right, time to make a change.
Yeah, no, I wasn't thinking, but I was also kind of like, it'd be hard if I could do it through that, you know? And so it was really insightful, because when I started like going out and I wasn't drinking or smoking or whatever it may be, it was difficult, right? I didn't realize how much you or like people in general depend on stuff like that to like communicate, you know? And I realized like now that time period has passed, like I don't actually need to drink when I go out to a party. Like I had to figure out ways to socialize. I had to actually figure out how to communicate with people. And so like I'm always wired now, you know, like I was just in San Francisco with my co-founder and I could not like, it was crazy to me. I was talking so much about the stupidest shit. Like we're walking on the street and I'm pointing at buildings and saying random shit, you know? So imagine like me at a party with water in my hand and all I'm doing is like dancing and talking to people.
You're much more present.
Exactly.
You're not the, you know, I did the whole thing in college, right? For the 4 years, just having fun, drinking a lot, first one in the bar, last one to leave. But when you start to eliminate that, you have to be present and you have to really pay attention to the environment, the conversations you're having. And it, I don't know, it is interesting.
Dude, honestly, it makes going out way more fun if you've gone through that process, because imagine now, like you can go out, have a drink or two, and you have that power and like ability to speak with people. It's a way more fun experience,
and you actually end up enjoying when you do have that one or two drinks that night, because it's like more of a celebration. You've been working your ass off, you've been putting in the time. It's not an escape, which is what I think. Obviously in college it's such a different lifestyle, but to me now that's what it's about celebrating. And also too, as I'm sure you're learning, especially now being your own founder of a company, you have to be on your toes at all times. You don't know who you're gonna bump into. You don't know who's in the bar and paying attention to you. You don't want to look like an idiot because your name's on the line. And E-Coliseum, which is even, I would argue, is above you, right? Like that's your brand. That's what you want to be huge. That's on the line. So it's like if you make yourself look like an idiot or you miss out on that opportunity at the bar, you're gonna be regretting it the next day.
No, so it's been really helpful, like to understand, you know, what came out of that and like reflect on it, because then like moving forward you can, you know, really be mindful of things and thoughtful about like when you're going into these scenarios like you're explaining, right? But another one that was really good was the meditation. So I mean, I meditated, like I would do like 5 days a week, right? And then Saturday, Sunday I wouldn't meditate, you know, because I just want to like chill. Right? But I realized that like my mood was so much more susceptible and in flux when I wasn't meditating. Like simple things could throw it off. You know? And so I thought like, okay, this could be interesting. What if I could do this like 7 days a week for 100 days? So I'm on 103. I think today's 103 or 104. And then same thing with journaling as well. And so meditation, like I wouldn't necessarily say I've become this like Zen master, you know? All that's happened is like I was here in terms of like, you know, like a sort of level of like mood and happiness. But now I'm in like initially meditation like will take you really high. You know, you'll be like, holy shit, I'm in the present. Like I'm loving life. I'm super grateful. But as you do more meditation, it's hard to get to that high point. Because what's happened is your median level of like happiness or whatever, this is what I believe, is a lot higher now. So it takes more to get way more enlightened. But now you're up here. You know? So I feel a lot calmer and things don't stick to me anymore, you know?
That's the one thing that I love about meditation. It teaches you how to just be flow. Like you're like liquid. You're just the ocean of just going with the flow, and things are going to go good and things are going to go bad, but you still are just going to keep moving forward and keep pushing along and not get held up by anything else. How was the journaling helping you though?
So the journaling was just nice for me to like take in every day. You know,
it's just like every morning at the end of every day. When do you actually write and how long?
So let's say I wake up at like 7 or 6:30. First thing I do is I meditate, and then I journal. And so when I'm journaling, I write about what I did yesterday, what I'm gonna be doing today, and then like what I'm grateful for. And so the part of like writing out what happened yesterday is it allows me to reflect on what happened, because it's crazy. I'll literally be like, what happened yesterday? What did happen yesterday? And it's absurd, because all that happened, it was like 8 hours of sleep that dissipated and like eliminated everything that I remembered, you know? But when you write that down, it's really nice to like reflect on how much you got done, or like the things that happened and the experiences. Like I get to write down, like let's say I went to like a crazy experience. I get to write down about all this stuff that happened, or I had a really dope meeting. I get to write about it. And then when I pull that book out that I've had from like, you know, the month of the last 2, like 3 months or whatever, and I flip through that book, I'm like, oh yeah, that happened, you know? And you get like a snapshot of your mental state too. So like I was journaling during our pop-up, right? And I got to see like there were certain weeks that I was super stressful. And then there's certain weeks where I'm like, man, what was I stressing about? You know? And so when you look at that book and you're like, dude, life is just life.
Yeah.
There's nothing to take so seriously, you know?
Yeah.
It's just one foot in front of the other, like, and remembering and enjoying that it is a journey, right?
Yeah.
And that journaling helps you remember that.
Yeah.
And keeps like you rooted in the idea of it being a journey, you know?
I think the reflecting you're doing in the morning, reflecting on the day, I do it at the end of the day before I go to sleep. And I need to get myself to actually start writing it, but it's more of like a counter in my head. And I found that what I say is like counting the wins, counting the small wins every day. That's what helps me sleep better at night. That's helps me be more present, because I'm just focused on like what are the 1 to 3 things I can do today that are gonna set me up for tomorrow, and then what tomorrow comes, I'll worry about the next day. So you know, it's very easy to get anxious and overwhelmed thinking about the bigger picture, about all these things we need to get done. Even before this podcast, as we're sitting here just chopping up about like what's the next step for the podcast, a book, events, all this stuff. There's so much that needs to get done and that could be done, but it's like, what can I do today? Okay, I can have a great podcast with Rustin. I'm going to send a couple emails and try to set up some more podcasts. Yeah. And then I'm going to go see my cousin later today. Those are my 3 wins. Yeah. Great. Tomorrow I'll do the same thing and then try to find a couple new ones.
And I noticed that, you know, when you started the podcast, you were like, look, this is the moment. We're going to be locked into here, you know? So I recognize that. And like that 3 wins thing, inherently I kind of do that too. Yeah. Because if I write out, like for the today part, if I write out all the things that I need to do, I'm fucked, to be honest. Like I have to write out the 3 most important things, and then like I'll do a thing where I'll spend like 30 seconds just like I'll put the timer and I'll just like visualize the 3 things that I need to do. And then it kind of just gets stuck in my brain. And it's weird when I do that and then I complete the 3 tasks, the day feels accomplished. Yeah. Even though I have like a laundry list of tasks to do. Yeah. If I get those 3 things done,
you're good.
I'm good.
You're chilling.
Yeah. It's weird. It's like you just like told your mind, look, this is all you need to worry about. And then once you finish, you're like, oh, I have nothing else to worry about.
There's always going to be more work that needs to get done. There's always going to be more tasks that need to get checked off. Yeah. But that's for sure one thing I'm trying to get better is just like enjoying the whole process of getting there. Because even if I put my head down for 24 hours today, I'm not going to be where I need to be or I want to be. So it's like, why am I going to stress this entire journey of trying to make this thing become what I want it to be? And I'm just going to slowly just like enjoy all these little things that are kind of happening, the flow, the ocean, enjoy as things are coming in and out of my life, and then just kind of, you know, run with it. Yeah. You know, obviously the big conversation we're going to get into in a little bit is going to be E-Coliseum and everything within that. But I do like painting the picture and trying to get people to understand how Rustin has gotten to where he is today, because it's not that you woke up and you became the co-founder of E-Coliseum, right? Like that'd be pretty crazy. But take me back to Tustin, California. That's where you're born and raised, suburb of Santa Ana, around 80,000 people. Describe to me what this environment is like for you as a kid.
Yeah, it's a great question. So I'm Persian. Okay. I'm 100% Persian. And so in Persian culture, you have really large families and everyone is super close. Like your cousins are basically your brothers
and sisters.
Exactly. Yeah. So like growing up in Tustin, I lived maybe like 5 or 10 minutes away from my 2 cousins, Justin and Nathan, and then eventually like Ethan when he was born. So Justin was around the same age as me. So Rustin and Justin from Tustin, you can imagine is like a whole.
You guys should have started a rap group.
Oh man, that would have been a terrible rap group. But like he was like my brother growing up. Like I would go to his house all the time, and all the 3 of us and eventually 4 of us would do play video games.
I love it.
That's it. Play video games and then like soccer. That was our life. Like growing up as kids, I have the fondest memories of games that I've played at their house, right? Like it's crazy to me just thinking back, like how that all has really like led to where I'm at today. You know, it's like really weird.
What were some of the early games you guys were getting into, and what systems?
Yeah, so I remember like backtracking a little bit. The first game that I really vividly remember playing a lot was actually with my dad. It was a game. It's called San Francisco Rush 2049, and it's like this racing game, but it's basically like the way I described the theme and like the design of it was, what did the 90s think the future looked like? So like retro future. So it was really sick. Like looking back, it had like dope techno music, like dope cars, like really cool tracks and colors. And it's funny that all of that has led to everything that inspires me creatively, from like the music I like, electronic music, right? The clothes that I like, the cars that I like everything that inspires me creatively has come from that game, you know, and like the memories I had of just me and my dad playing that all the time. So I was like really heavy into racing games as a kid, but then I remember Super Smash Brothers came out.
That's like the game, right? Like that's like the epicenter of gaming, I feel
like. Yeah, and I don't remember who had it first. It was either me or it could have been my older cousin. So my older cousin Barzine, he was like also one of the people that got me into gaming. He gave me like one of his old Game Boy. I was probably like 5 or 6 years old.
He passed it on, right?
Yeah,
he knew. He's like, I gotta hook Rustin up. He's got to get into it young.
Exactly. Gave it to my dad. My dad gave it to me, and it had Pokemon Blue version. And you know, like when you're a kid, you don't really know how to play these things. So it was like, do you have a save file? And I was like, nah. And I just started without the save file. He had given me a fully completed game with like Mew, which is like an impossible character to get. I just deleted the whole thing, you know?
You got to start from
scratch.
So
he still holds that over my head. But yeah, so like there was all that like little background of me getting introduced to games through my family, right? Yeah. And then I would go over to my cousin's house and eventually like fast forward to like Nintendo GameCube era. So I think we were like in elementary school, middle school time frame. Our grandpa would take all the cousins, there was like 10 or 12 of us, every Sunday to like the local Target, and we would go to Target and we were allowed to like buy one thing. We had like a $20 or $30 allowance. And so Justin and Nathan, since they're brothers, they'd always team up.
They'd combine their money.
Yeah, and they'd buy a video game.
Smart.
Whereas I'd have to wait 2 weeks, you know?
Save up.
Yeah, exactly.
Can I put this on layaway for next week?
Right.
Take the money from what you're going to give me.
Exactly. So like I remember they bought Sonic Adventure Battle 2 or Sonic Adventure 2 Battle or whatever. I can't remember how they pronounce it now, but when we were kids we were like Sonic Adventure Battle 2. And that was like one of those games again that like formed everything that I'm inspired by creatively. Like it was the first like game where the character wasn't some like lame family character. It was like Sonic, this cool guy, badass. You know, right? And then like the villain is Shadow, who's also a badass, you know? And like we're growing up as kids, we're watching Dragon Ball Z, like we're starting to become like trying to be like badasses, right? So this was a dope game just going through this story mode, and we thought it was the greatest game of all time. But when you play it now, looking back, you're like, it has some issues, you know?
But at the time you felt like this was the best game of all time, you know? It's like, it's how everything else evolves. The gaming industry today, it's like we think these are the greatest games, and then 10 years from now when virtual reality is like the gaming, we're going to put on a suit and then we're going to be in this actual world running around like we're the Call of Duty guys, and it's like, crazy how it evolves.
What is this trash that we were obsessed with before, right? But, you know, it was nice. It was like a really big part of my childhood.
You had mentioned your father earlier. What do you think was one of the greatest lessons he taught you as a kid?
Oh man, there's a lot. Yeah. I think with my dad, there's so many. I'm trying to just I attribute a lot of my success to my dad in teaching me so many things about how to like handle situations and like how do you interact with people and how do you respond to things. And I like, you know, people that we've brought onto the team, or like people that like some of my friends that I interact with, you know, I'm like, this is common sense to me. How come you don't understand this? And I realized, well, they maybe weren't given those same opportunities, those same learning lessons from like their dad or their family or whoever they grew up with. Like, I'm so grateful to my dad. Like, I owe almost everything to him. Yeah. There's so much.
I think that perspective of what you just said right there is so important for people to learn. It's like, instead of getting frustrated because somebody doesn't understand the concept that you're trying to tell them, or, you know, we need to do things this way, instead of getting frustrated, it's kind of looking at it from the other lens of like, well, maybe they didn't grow up in the same environment as me. Maybe there's something that's happening in their life, you know? So I think that's like such an important perspective shift that I wasn't doing 5 years ago, but now, you know, getting to this whole world of like talking to people and interviewing people. You know, do you see somebody on the side of the road and go, oh, freaking homeless person? Or do you go, what's the story behind how they got there? Yeah. Why are they there? Because I don't think they just chose to be there. Yeah. What was their childhood like? Who were they surrounded by? Did they have like food on the table? Do they have a house over their head? So it's like all those little things that a lot of people like myself, maybe you could say took for granted growing up. Then you flip the script and you go, well, that person didn't have that. Who would you be if you didn't have that growing up?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Like, I wasn't, people aren't always like that. Like, it's tough to get to this point in your mind where like you can let things roll off because you understand why people are doing the things that they do.
Yeah.
But to get to that point, you have to understand yourself. Once you learn yourself and the reason why you operate in certain ways, then you can kind of understand how other people operate. And so I think like with my dad, one of the things that like always just stuck with me was that he encouraged me to like be entrepreneurial. There was a phrase, it's in Persian, it's as dar nashod as panjare, which means like if you can't get through the door, try the window. Which when he explained it, it was like if I was doing something and I just gave up, I'm like, oh, there's no other way to do this. And he's like, what do I always tell you, right? He has like all these Persian sayings that he always says, so it's kind of like Mr. Miyagi but Persian, So
he's like the genie, just like, what did I tell you?
Right. And I can't wait to like pass that on to my kids, like the different things that he's taught me contextually. Yeah.
How big was football growing up for you as a kid?
Not at all.
Not at all. Really?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
It wasn't at all.
Zero.
But soccer was.
Soccer was huge.
See that now it kind of makes sense for USC with the football. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Soccer was huge. I mean, it was everything that my family watched. Like all the cousins played soccer. Like it was every Sunday after we had like our grandpa would take us to Target, then all the uncles and all the kids would go and play soccer at Foothill, like the local high school. Wow. We would like climb the gate, play soccer there, and then like the people that are like the coaches of the soccer team would like come on and be like, you guys don't have permits, like kick us off the field. Yeah. And it's so funny because those same people ended up being my coaches in high school.
Wow.
Yeah, it was really crazy.
Wow. I was see, because as we'll get into a little bit about your time at USC, I had read that you were like the football punter for a little bit, so I didn't know if football was like the main sport that you had played growing up. But one thing I also did come across was that in elementary school, you would bring your Nintendo GameCube and charge people to play.
Yeah.
In high school, you had a T-shirt business. You also would hack and flip tech products on Craigslist. Where was this entrepreneurship itch coming from? Where do you think that stemmed from?
I don't really know. I just recall like my dad encouraging like, there would be scenarios where I was doing something and he's like, I think people would pay for this. It would be cool, like if you could sell this or whatever, right? And so hearing that from like your father figure, it kind of makes you think, it just like signals, oh, like I should do that. Like this is the right path, like, and so there was always like trying to make a quick buck, like me and my cousins, we would sell like bacon wrapped hot dogs on the side of the street, and like we would get it from Costco. So it'd be really cheap. And then we just upcharge it. Right. So that was like elementary school. And then in elementary school, we had this thing, it was called businesses. So like every end of like a semester or like a quarter, like right before a holiday break, we would do like a businesses where in the classroom, everyone would bring in like a service or a product, and they're like, we were given fake money and you could buy like candy from someone or whatever, right? Like a little economy. And so I was always like, I just remember I always made the most money because I was always coming up with like really good products or services. And so, but then like the next time we did businesses, there would be like 3 copycats that would pop up. But by the time the copycats came, I had created something.
You went to the next product.
No, I had created something that they needed to use for the product. So like, I'll give you an example. Okay. Like when I brought the GameCube the first couple times, like I was making bank because kids just wanted to play video games. And it got to the point that they weren't going around and buying anyone else's stuff. So then the next time 2 kids came in with like, one came in with a PlayStation, one came in with like an Xbox. And I knew ahead of time what they were bringing. And so like they didn't have enough controllers, so I brought controllers and I rented out the controllers to people, So I was always like a little bit ahead.
You're ahead of the ball.
Right. And then it evolved into like, me asking like the teachers, hey, can I hook this up to your TV during like snack or lunch, right? And they're like, oh, this cute little kid, and he has friends who wants to play, and then it turned into like a little racket, you know, where like they were paying me with like money, or like we had these like chocolate milk packets that you could like stick the straw into, you know, there was like a cube or whatever. So I was getting a lot of those because I love chocolate milk, you know.
Yoo-hoos?
Yeah, stuff like that. Yeah. So it was fun doing that. And then like fast forward, this was actually in middle school, that I was doing like the t-shirt line. I've always been like, I was very artistic as a kid. Actually, growing up, I wanted to be like a Japanese comic book artist, like manga, you know? But as soon as like my dad figured out, he's like, no, we're not taking you to art classes or anything like that.
You're not doing this?
Yeah. Because like, you know, my mom was an artist for like a little bit of time. She was like an interior designer as well. So she was really creative. And so she like encouraged it. But as a career path, they both were like, this is not a career path.
And what did your father do?
My father was an attorney. Yeah. Okay. So growing up,
any specific type of law?
Like real estate, small business, contractual. So growing up, like, I mean, my parents moved here from Iran in like the 1970s. So they started with nothing.
Wow.
So it's incredible what they've been able to do, and I'm incredibly grateful, like putting me in the positions that I'm in today.
Yeah.
You know, and from nothing to here has been truly insane,
especially with you growing up with the cousins and you guys are all playing video games. I'm really curious, were they supportive of you guys just like doing that and then like as fun, or were they like, you guys need to stop and go outside and play? Did they support it, or were they against you guys gaming heavily?
They instituted like restrictions.
Okay.
So like if I wanted to play an hour of video games, I needed to do 2 hours of cultural activity.
Oh, man.
Right?
Man.
So I was getting really cultured because I was playing a lot of video games, you know? And so, like,
I got to do 6 hours out there today so I get 3 hours of playing tonight, doing the math. Like,
and I was, like, negotiating at times, you know? I'm like,
give me 2.5.
I was like, reading comic books counts as culture because it's from Japan, you know? And they'd be like, that does not work. So, like, God. I'm reading, I'm drawing. And so, like, that's how I built this, like, drawing capability was through just drawing all the time. And so in middle school, I drew like a logo on my desk where it was like, I drew like an infinity sign, and then I drew an 8 through the sign. And it was like a really cool shape because it looked like they were all together, right? And I made it like really 3D because like the week before I had learned how to make like 3D shapes and shade them properly. And I put it on a piece of paper and I scanned it and put it into Photoshop, and I like cleaned it up, and now I had this like really dope 3D shape that like was a logo. And so it was called Infinite8, right? That was the name of the company.
Nice and easy.
Yeah, and this was like Robin Big era, like drama, like super skateboarding heavy era, like everyone's wearing Nike SBs, wearing like Active Ride Shop. That was like a big clothing company in Orange County. And so like super into skate culture, and I wanted to make like a skateboarding clothing company, right? And my older cousin Nathan, he had like started to explore like printing onto t-shirts. And so I would go over to their house, the same one that I would go play video games at, right? I would go over and I have like all these designs, and we'd like put them in Photoshop, make them look cool, print them on t-shirts, and then wear them to school. And then kids were like, what is that? And I'd explain that like I made it, and they started wanting to buy them.
Wow.
And so I started doing this thing where every week I would release a new design. You know, it was like the logo, but it'd be different. So like, for example, I did one, it was like Bumblebee from Transformers. So it was like yellow and then black, and then I drew like Bumblebee's face in the middle of it, and it said like Infinite8.
Amazing.
And I had like a piece of paper in my locker that had like the designs on them, like printed onto it, and I had like checklists. So people would come to my locker during break, I'd like open it up like I'm a drug dealer, you know?
Oh my!
And then
so you'd have a count of what you needed.
Yeah.
Oh.
So they'd be like, I want this in large, and I'd be like, okay, 1 large, right? You know, and write it down in the thing, and then at the exact same time, there was a store that opened up recently nearby my house. It was like you could buy Gildan like blank t-shirts, blank. It was like a workwear store, like get Dickies pants for your job, but they had like a bunch of blank stuff. So I would go buy a bunch of blank Gildan shirts in the sizes that they needed, go to Target, get those papers that you like iron on, come home, I would do my homework, and then like I would set up like a literal sweatshop because it was so hot to iron, you know? I'd get like one of those ironing boards, and I was just ironing designs onto the t-shirt like all night, and then come like fold them, put them in like a plastic bag that my mom gave me, and then come to school and just
pass them out like candy.
I put it in my locker, you know, and the kids would come at lunch and they knew it was good. I'd open it, they'd get their t-shirt, and they pay me cash.
You were so smart because you were making to order. You didn't have any extra, like, you weren't making too many shirts and then stuck with them. You knew exactly, I didn't even realize I'm going to have my buddies, this is like a pre-order.
Yeah.
So that when I drop, literally, I come to school with the shirts, I'm leaving with none because I know exactly how many. Dude, that's crazy. You don't even think about it at the time, but you're like, I'm gonna do this ahead of time so that I can save money. And then looking back on it, it's like that's the most efficient way to have run that business. Like, I could just see, like, in between that 3 minutes going from class to class, you just like pop open the door, like, what you need. And then you got all these like t-shirts designs. You're like, you need that? Okay, cool. Next. And then just keep going and going. Teacher walks by, close the door.
It was so much fun because that was like actually one of the, like, it got to the point where administrators in the office were buying t-shirts from me. And like teachers in the school were wearing my stuff.
Wow.
Yeah.
It was they probably wanted to support you, I would imagine, at some point. It's like, dude, this kid is trying to do something bigger than himself. He's trying to start his, I don't know, that's good. You either get a teacher that's like, shut it down, you're not doing this in school, or you get the other side of like, let's support him and show him that he could literally do anything that he wants. You know?
That was, you're right. That was really, I'm getting goosebumps just thinking about it. That was really nice. Like, I really enjoyed that.
I definitely remembered myself trying to sell monsters, and then I didn't think I ever got caught. Like the energy monsters, I think me and my homies tried selling in middle school, and then I think that didn't go too hot. I think the teachers weren't happy about that because the students would be drinking them, and then they're all wired in class, they're all jittery. Like, yo, can we go outside? Can we go outside? You end up going to speed up a little bit. You end up going to USC. You major in business administration with a minor in game entrepreneurship. Why'd you choose USC?
So actually, like, I thought that, you know, I was playing football my senior year of high school. I had a good season, and I was in International Baccalaureate, which is like a step above AP classes. Mm-hmm. So it was like a core group of us. There were like 20 or 30 kids that were in IB in our high school.
What was the name of the high school?
Foothill High School.
Okay.
And so like that core group, it was like, you know, take the hardest classes. It was like we were kind of like a little bit of outsiders. Like we were like a clique. Like we were all in the same classes together, you know? And so like that group of people, the expectation was like, look, you guys are the like smartest kids in the school or whatever. So you're going to be applying to like the Ivy Leagues and stuff, and like it's going to work out, right? That was what they sold us on, is like, if you can do IB, you can get into these massive schools. And so I thought like, oh man, my chances could be a lot higher. Like if I'm playing football and I apply to like, let's say Harvard, right? Well, maybe my football skill isn't that great, but like my grades are really, really good.
It's gonna help you get in the door.
Yeah, and like if I have really high grades, they can bring me in. I'll raise the average GPA of the team, and then they can get a kid who doesn't have as good grades, but he's a really good quarterback, and they want to get him. So that was kind of how I positioned myself. And so that, I'm trying to remember where we were going with this.
Why USC?
Oh, why USC? Yeah. So when I was applying, you know, I didn't necessarily get into any of those schools, or like I got waitlisted at like Penn, and it was just like academically, where's the best place that I can go? I got offers for like D3 for football, and I almost took them, which is crazy thinking back. I can't imagine, like, my life would be so much different, so different if I went and played football at like an Occidental or like Claremont McKenna, as opposed to like going to USC and meeting the people and the stuff that led me to where I am today. Yeah, crazy. But
what was the number one school that you had on your list? Like if you could have gotten in?
Oh, I mean, I wanted to go to Harvard so bad. Yeah, you know.
You wanted to go to the Massachusetts, baby.
Boston,
East Coast, baby. East Coast.
Yeah, but it was just like it was like a dream, right? And when I was applying to schools, this is just a funny story. For the UCs, I don't think my parents even know this. When I was applying for the UCs, it was like, you know, senior year, like you're studying for like your AP tests, like you're running on zero sleep and you're applying to this shit. And for UCLA, like I applied, and then I remember I get a letter during like the college admissions process from UCLA, like, you know, okay, I got accepted into like different UC schools, like Berkeley, whatever. UCLA comes in and it's like, you've been rejected. I'm like, what? Like, I've gone into all these other UCs. why did I get rejected from UCLA? And I look and it's like, you've been rejected from the School of Engineering. I had applied to engineering, not economics. But I was like, I didn't even want to go to UCLA, so I don't care.
So now I don't even have to worry about it.
Yeah.
Wow, you got shot down from the engineering school.
Yeah, it was pretty funny.
But you knew even going, no matter where you were going to go into college, you knew that business was going to be your major. Mm-hmm. What was pulling you into that then? Just from all the like these little entrepreneurship things growing up?
Yeah, that plus the fact that like I wasn't really good at anything else. And my dad was always saying to me like, look, you have a way of like speaking with people. I think that your path is like going towards this route of business or whatever is offered at these schools. So
if I had told you the answer to the question that I'm about to ask before we started the podcast, what I would have answered. But if I had asked you your freshman day of college at USC, Rustin, what are you going to be doing 4 years from now when you graduate college? Yeah. What would you have said?
Dude, honestly, I thought I was going to go and like be an investment banker. I didn't even know what that meant. I just knew like that's where you make a lot of money. I was like, I'm going to go Goldman Sachs because that's what my dad told me. Like, this is your route or whatever. Yeah. So I thought that's what I was going to do. And freshman year, I'm taking micro econ and I'm like, dude, math, finance, that shit, that's not me, bro. Let someone else do that. That's not me, you know?
Yeah. I went into business school saying the same thing. I'm like, I'm going to do finance. That's where the money's at. I took the intro level. I said,
fuck that.
I'll see you in marketing. I'll see you in marketing.
Yeah. Fuck that.
Nah.
Yeah, no.
Not my cup of tea. Not yours either.
Yeah.
I loved how, though, I had read that you sold high-end sneakers to one of your adjunct professors in an entrepreneurship class, which then leads you to an internship working for, I think it was the professor's company called Grab Games. It was an augmented and virtual reality company. What do you think was the big takeaway from that experience for you?
The shoes. Sorry, I just blew right into.
Oh yeah. So no, more of the actual internship, because I feel like that must have been a moment. I'm just guessing that maybe you realized there could be a way to make a living working in that gaming industry.
That's exactly what happened. So the guy I worked for, Anthony Borquez, he's like one of the guys that really put me on. I remember the first day of class, he teaches this like tech entrepreneurship class at USC. First day of class, he walks in and he's wearing like Yeezys and like a Montclair vest. And he's like, hey guys, I have a video game company. I'm like, yo, what the fuck? I want to be that guy. Right?
Yeah.
Like that's everything that I've ever like. Right there, I knew immediately. I was like, I want to be that guy.
Yeah.
And at the time, I was selling sneakers like crazy.
To all the kids on campus or what?
So like, this was like going into my sophomore fall. The first Yeezys had come out, like the 750s, and then you had the Turtle Dove 350s, and then the Pirate Black 350s came out. And I was able to secure a pair of the Pirate Blacks. And so like, growing up in Orange County, the community that I was with was like, it was my dad's side of the family. And in Orange County, like where I grew up at the school I went to, like you didn't flaunt anything. Like there was no like wealth, like flexing on people. That was not a part of the culture, right? You come to USC, it's a culture shock. People are throwing out names of brands I had never heard before, like Montclair and like all this stuff. And they're like, look at you in your Active t-shirt. I'm like, I thought Active was cool, you know? But you come to LA and it's a different breed. Different culture.
I'm sure even the car parking lots where students are driving, you're seeing.
Oh.
Yeah. Whole different ball game.
Yeah, a whole different ball game. And like, but again, I was into streetwear, right? Like I was in skate culture, right? Yeah. So I still had that passion for it. I was just a little bit. Like, I'll give you an example. Remember the Steven Janoskis? Like, those sneakers that they're, like, a super popular skate shoe.
Oh, yeah.
I bought the first pair of those, and I have, like, a whole collection of them. And I would buy those sneakers. Like, there are certain ones that are actually limited now, and I bought them. They have a resale value. So, like, before I even knew it, I was, like, a sneaker head and collector.
You could see it before it would happen.
Right. And so coming into like sophomore year, the Yeezys come out, and on my mom's side of the family, they're all from LA, all my cousins, and they're all around the same age as me. Like Ashkan, Ariane, those are my closest like cousins, Kevin, like everyone on all the girls. And so like for them, they grew up in the LA culture. So they knew all these new streetwear brands. They knew very well like what was hot, what wasn't hot. And because I'm in LA at USC, I'm hanging out with them a lot and I'm learning and I'm picking up all these things. And so like we're buying Yeezys, right? And so I got the Pirate Blacks, and then my cousin was reselling sneakers. My older cousin Ashkan, he's like a brother to me now, like an older brother. I'm living with him now. And I always looked up to him. And he's buying and selling these sneakers, and he has this whole collection. I'm like, dude, what are you doing? And he's like, I can make this much money off this pair of shoes. I was like, that's all you got to say, bro. That's all you got to say. I know exactly.
Done this with the t-shirts. I've done this, everything else in my life. I know exactly what to do now.
Right.
Yeah.
And when that drop happened for the Pirate Blacks, I remember I was on Reddit, and there was like a small group of people, and they're like, yo, these guys, Resale Cartel, they bought like 80% of the supply. And I was like, Resale Cartel? I need to get a part of this. And then so like through back channel DMs, they're like, if you pay $30 to this guy and like send a Twitter DM, they'll add you to like this Slack channel or whatever, right?
Yeah.
And so I joined Resale Cartel off the just trust that me paying $30, some random guy that I was talking to online would enable me to get in. And so that transaction is actually true in a lot of things I've done in life, just taking the leap.
Yeah.
You know, that like my cousin was like, I'm not going to pay $30 to this random guy, my older cousin. I was like, dude, who cares? Like if it works, amazing. If not, whatever.
Yeah.
I did that, joined this group. There's like 8 people in it. I'm like, oh fuck, I fucked up. But then I look and they're like talking about like, this is how you hack the site. This is the servers, the bots, the proxies that we use to get this and that. And I'm like, this is a gold mine. So ever since that time that we joined the Slack channel, it starts growing like crazy. People are writing articles about us. Like at certain points, like there were sneakers that we got so much of the supply, we got to dictate the price of the market.
No way.
It was crazy.
No way.
And then now everyone has Slack channels coming out. There's like people coming, like it just grew. Like we were, so like you look at ride sharing, like Uber and Lyft.
Yeah.
And like Uber pre like this whole crazy thing, it was like a small community of people, and then it turned into this massive mainstream thing. So we were at sneaker reselling right when like the Instagram era and like direct to consumer e-com things were blowing up, just like 2014, 2015, right? And so it was like a core community of us, but then it turned into mainstream culture.
Yeah.
Right? So like we're at the forefront of that, like selling these sneakers. And then nowadays, like I don't do it anymore because the market price is so low.
You're not making anything compared to what you probably were at that time.
Yeah, we were making bank. It was crazy.
So you end up, so that's how you build that relationship with the professor, though.
Yes. I'm sorry.
No,
yeah.
I love it. No, we're full circle and everything, man.
Yeah.
This is the whole point of the podcast. I want to hear everything. But so you end up selling the pair of sneakers. You get this opportunity at Grab Games, and what ends up being like the takeaway from it?
Yeah. So I go up to him. I sold like 6 pairs of sneakers. On the 6th pair I sold him, I was like, look, man, you don't have to pay resale on these. Just give me a job for the summer. And so gives me a job, and I just shadow him, right? So he has like a couple different companies in this building in Santa Monica. One is like a VR game company, and then one is like a Twitter ad platform, and another is like a VR video company. And so he was just like, all right, boom, you're there. Work on everything, work on anything, right? And so I got to learn about so many different things, like about Twitter, about VR, about video games, and like, what do I like to do? What do I not like to do? And just being in that environment and seeing like, you can actually make money off of an industry that my parents told me rots my brain and it'll never amount to anything.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, maybe I can do something with this. Like if I'm so happy doing this, maybe I can make something happen out of this, right?
Yeah.
And it was like a really, really crazy experience where honestly, like looking back, I probably didn't really do a lot of productive work. I was just experimenting and tinkering with shit. Like, I remember they had like an augmented reality project that they like pitched to Tilly's or whatever. And they were like, all right, we pitched this. How do we make it? And I was like, oh, I'll figure it out. And so like I started going on YouTube and learning how to use Unity and like Blender, which is a 3D modeling tool. And this is like so early in AR. I made like an app on your phone where if you scan the Tilly's stickers, different like Tilly's product that I 3D scanned with like a camera would pop up. And now that's like anyone can do that.
Everyone's doing that.
Yeah, anyone could do that.
Wow.
Like I made a little pitch presentation that like if I ever met Kanye, I was going to show him this AR thing where like you scan a picture of Kanye's face with the camera, and like my Pirate Black Yeezy that I still had would pop up, and it was like super interactive, 3D and everything. So this was like summer of 2016 or 2015, probably 2016.
Yeah.
And fast forward like this year, Kylie Jenner had like a sneaker with Adidas, and one of the ways that you could interact with it was through scanning your phone. The 3D model would pop up.
Wow.
And then Kanye did the same thing for his album Yandhi. If you scan a picture of Yandhi, there would be like that purple disc cover come up, you know? So it was like a really gratifying moment to think like, man, I was on that shit.
You were onto something
early.
Years ago before it became like what it is now, and it's now like this mainstream. So now we're up towards graduating college. We're about to graduate. You have some money from flipping shoes. You win $10,000 at USC's new venture seed competition, and you get accepted into their incubator and raise money led by Hirsch Interactive Group.
Correct.
How does this idea for E-Coliseum come about, and what inspires you and your co-founder, Kha Lu? What inspires you guys to make this what it is today?
Yeah, so the way E-Coliseum began was like I would run like local tournaments using like the money from the sneakers I sold to like put these things on. And for Kha and I, like we felt there was never really like a community for us, you know, like if you like basketball, you can go to a basketball court and find those people. But for video games, that never really existed, you know? And we're running these tournaments, and we're starting to realize like and we're doing them like in the like one of the school buildings, or we're renting out rooms, or like we go to Little Tokyo and find a place and we do a pop-up, right? And we're like, our margins could be so much better if we own our own place, and like if we build a brand out of this could be massive. And so we came up with like this concept of the world's first esports gym, right?
Love it.
Pay a monthly membership, and it's like Equinox. You go game there whenever you want, compete in tournaments, hire professional trainers, stuff like that. And I went and entered USC's largest pitch competition, and honestly, I didn't actually want to enter. I was like, you know, being cocky. I was like, I don't need this competition, whatever, and it's gonna land on Coachella weekend one. Like one of the weekends that have to be in LA is weekend one of Coachella. And hearing that, you're like, oh, fuck this guy, right? But you have to understand the past, like Coachella is something I look forward to every year because it's a thing that like me and all my cousins do together. And it's like a really awesome experience. But I hadn't been able to go because of football the years before. And I remember like, I didn't really enjoy football. Why did I do that? You know, I was like, grind. And now looking back, I was like, shit, I missed out. I'm never going to let that happen again. Like, put something before my family or an experience. So I was like, this is one of those things. I can't do it. But I compromised, and my friend convinced me to go and enter the pitch competition. And I was like, I'm not even going to win, but I'll do it. Enter the competition, and we got past like the first couple rounds, so that was really cool. And we got into like the semifinals, where we had to meet every Saturday for like 8 Saturdays in LA and talk about like our pitch and hone it. And so like I remember we met, they did one of the days on Friday, and it was like the final pitch before the grand finals. So if you pitch in this like judge room area Friday and you make it past that, then you're in the grand finals where there's only 6 of you and you're pitching to like 250 people in this crazy room. And this was Friday, day 1 of Coachella. So I go in and I'm just like zoned in. You have to memorize a pitch for it's a 5-minute pitch. You have to memorize it down to the T. You can't look at the screen or anything. Like you have to look at the audience. So it's super hard.
Yeah.
But for me, like I made USC's team with like 0 experience as a punter. I was a field goal kicker. Like being in those pressurized moments was where I thrived. And I had learned like the things that I would do to make myself prepared for those moments. One of the things that I do is like I'll get a brand new song that I really like, and I'll literally only listen to that song for that day. So I'm not thinking about, oh, what if I mess up? No.
You're emotionally connected to that song.
Exactly. And it's just playing back and forth, and it's just like a positive feedback loop. Like I'm just getting this energy, and I'm memorizing the pitch, and I'm saying the pitch. So I go into the pitch, I destroy it, right? Friday, I destroy it, and they're asking me questions. I answer the questions. They're like, okay, great. You'll hear back from us. I'm like, I'm gone. I'm out of here. I get in the car with like my suit on still, and I drive all the way to Coachella. And I hear back like Saturday morning or whatever that like I made it to the finals. So I was so crazy because this was the first time for me personally that like I had accomplished something that like, you know, like for me, it's like you get into Harvard, right? Or like you were a D1 recruit coming out of school, you know, like those are things that you look at other people and you're like, that person is going to be so successful because they're like doing these crazy things that only a few people have accomplished. That was the first time I felt in my life that like I'd worked very hard for something and life returned the favor, and I had accomplished something that was really special to me. In that moment of like, I felt like I had made it, but I knew there was so much more to do, you know?
But it was like that acceptance of like, you're now going to the final round. This is already a huge win for me because people are either believing in the vision or I've just honed in on my skills of like being able to get a vision across to somebody else that they're like, bring him to the next round, bring him to the next round.
Yes. That's a great way of putting it, is like, it was one of those big wins that made me feel like I was doing something, you know? I was like on the right path. I was good at what I did.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. So going into that final pitch, did you guys end up getting number one?
So we placed third. It's second or third because the prize pool was the same between me and like another company. There were 6 companies. And I remember the pitch was like in an auditorium, and it was in like a classroom of 250 students. And then I would pitch to 6 like judges. One of them, his name is on the entrepreneurship building, Lloyd Greif. Like he is the entrepreneurship department guy, right? So he's donated all the money to school. And then there's like all these different VCs there, and you're pitching to them your business. And all the people that were in the competition, they had very interesting ideas. But when it came to telling the story, according to a lot of people, it didn't come off as compelling or as exciting as mine was. And I think part of that is because it's like, I actually really believe in what I'm doing and I really enjoy it, you know? Like, this is my passion.
You can hear it in somebody's voice. They're not just trying to sell a product that they don't believe in. You can hear that this is something that you genuinely believe in. And 2, were you guys the only like esports type of see? There's a lot in the news right now. I feel like that's what people are probably excited about. They're like, let's see what these guys are all about. Because this would have been spring of 2018, correct? So
this was spring of 2017. Actually.
2017. Okay. So people are getting all fired up about it, and then they're like, what are these guys all about?
Yeah. I mean, even then it was still really early. Like, this was pre-Ninja and Drake world.
Wow.
Right? So like when Drake and Ninja streamed together, it was like a really big moment.
Huge.
You guys should check it out if you haven't.
Huge.
So like, it was still not really that validated yet. But in the competition, like the people that I was competing against, like, you know, their pitches were like, for example, one was like a recruiting tool for MBA students. It was really far along. The people that were running the business were like MBA students at USC. And so they won like the grand prize, and I think they're doing really well still. But it was like very business oriented. And the professor that ran the New Venture Seed competition, he made me go last. And it was so frustrating.
Because you have to hear all these pitches.
I have to hear all of them. I have to sit there and stay focused for like an hour and a half before my pitch. And I remember him telling me after, like, he was like, it was on purpose because your pitch was always the most fun one to watch, right? So I wanted you to like have this lasting moment. So I'm always grateful to him. Albert Napoli. He was also like the first entrepreneurship class I took at USC. But I go in, I deliver this pitch, and like some of my friends were in the audience, and it was like basically all these people that I'd seen at USC were there for this class that they take, and the pitch happened in that class. And I'm delivering this pitch, and it just comes off as like I'm just a kid, you know, that's really enjoys his product, but the product works. And so like they're trying to ask me questions like after the competition, like the judges, and I'm just happy to be there, you know? And it was like really cool. And I remember like one of my friends like posted a Snapchat, and it was like after I had been done pitching, he was recording, and he saw like all these people were going on their computers, looking my name up and going to like my USC football profile or like my Instagram. And he was like scanning the room. And I was like, that it's so crazy because I felt, again, like I was on the right path.
Yeah.
You know?
So after that moment, did you spend pretty much like a whole year on the back end of just trying to slowly put together because the pop-up ended up going live in early 2018, right?
Yeah.
So not only were you pitching this as just like the concept, there was nothing even like
the only thing that
show proof of.
The only thing that we had were like video game tournaments that we did, you know?
So you had something though, at least you had something that you could leverage and say, we've done X, Y, and Z. We've done these types of, these tournaments before, but now we just want to take it to a bigger level.
Yeah, but the big disconnect was the people I were talking to that were judging me were like, you know, 50, 60-year-old white dudes, and they've never played video games before.
Gaming? What do you mean? This is for kids. Nobody's going to buy into this.
Exactly. So like that was always an uphill battle. After the competition, we win $10,000, and all of a sudden the business becomes real. And I'm like, okay, this is what I'm going to do after school. Like, this is my job. Right? This is what I'm going to do. And I meet Kha through like a mutual friend, and we have like the perfect mix of personalities. Like I'm super forward and like pushing, and he's like reserved, thoughtful. Like he calls it like hustler and hound. I guess like there's like a dynamic of like where I go and then I trailblaze, and he's like right behind making sure that I'm seeing all the holes.
And that's amazing.
Yeah, it's like a really good relationship that we have.
Damn, so that's amazing. So you going into your senior year, you know, I need to work on this. This is going to be what I'm doing after I graduate college.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a hell of a way going to your senior year, man.
Yeah.
Having some direction, some clue as to what you wanted to do.
Yeah. But it was hard because like, you know, it's cool that you want to pitch competition, bro, but like
still ain't a business yet.
Yeah.
It's still not real. It's not tangible. It hasn't been executed.
Yeah.
You need to still iron out all the details and figure out how is this going to become real.
It took us like 8 months to find a place that we could do the pop-up at, and we had to raise money, and it was like a whole thing of like, you know, you want to pitch competition, but what is the business? What are you trying to tell me, dude? You know? And also had to balance that with school, which it wasn't that big of a deal. Like when I started USC, for some reason, like an idiot, I thought it was normal to take like 18 or 20 units.
Yeah.
So I'm like putting on such a high course load that when senior year came around, I could like spread out my classes, right? But, you know, all my friends are going out, and I'm sitting at home working all the time, and like I hear people like in the hallways partying, and it was so hard to just be like, there's a reason that I'm not doing that. You know, like there is a grander vision for what I'm trying to accomplish that I can't let that make me feel down about myself or weird about myself, right?
Yeah.
So, but it was tough, you know, and what I turned towards was like meditation and wellness and learning about myself and just becoming more and more happy of like who I am. And at my core, I'm like, I am a gamer and I'm a streetwear head, and that's cool. That's okay. That's what, it's not nerdy. That's who I am.
And as long as I have this vision, I know I can bring this shit to life.
Yeah.
So come upon when the actual pop-up goes live, this is, I think, like a month before you graduated. You have this entire warehouse that is filled with equipment in downtown LA. You have some of the biggest brands, Dell's Alienware computers, which is like the Nike of gaming.
Yeah.
You have these fancy Vertagear gaming chairs.
Yeah.
You have Cooler Master surround sound headsets, ViewSonic monitors, all of which is sponsored. How did you get these massive brands to buy into your vision?
Yeah, so when we first started out, when Kha and I met, we were like, look, culture and gaming are coming together like this, right? Why is no one creating a brand around that? That was like 2.5 years ago. And we started speaking to people. Like we felt like, look, there has to be more people like us out there, right? We started speaking to people, and they're like, look,
gaming is cool. You know what I mean? It's like now it's
cool.
Used to be like nerds, they would call it. People would say, oh, you got to be a nerd to play gaming. But now it's like, I do play game. Yeah, you game, I game too.
I game too. Yeah, exactly.
It's so different. It's so different.
I would go to business conferences, and there'd be guys on stage saying like, gaming is for neckbeards. They live in their mother's basements. They're antisocial. Gaming's not a lifestyle. Fast forward, those are the same dudes on stage saying like, ooh, gaming's a lifestyle. Like, it's cool. I'm like, dude, come on, you know? But yeah, that was like, we were speaking to people. They're telling us we're wrong. And to prove them wrong, I like, there's a whole other story about this, but I'm like close with the ASAP mob. And so I flew to New York. I basically like,
so random, by the way. I'm just like cool with the ASAP. Not random, but like just a like, yeah, I'm cool with the ASAP. Wow, that's so.
It's actually a really funny story. I kind of want to tell it. Like, so there was like ASAP Bari's clothing line is called V-Loan, and he was having a pop up in downtown LA, like junior year Halloween time, and we go to stand in line for the pop up, and like my older cousins Ashka and I, they come with me, right? We go to stand in line for this pop up, and I'm standing in line, and there's a guy that comes and stands behind me. And for some reason, I started striking up conversation with him because the line was so long. And he goes like, man, I'm friends with those guys. Like, we can cut the whole line. We can get in before anyone else can. And I was like, okay, like, if this guy is real, he's real. If he's not, whatever. So I played along, and I was talking to him. And eventually, he gets us in before everyone else. So I'm in this pop-up, and it's me and like the mob. And so if you're in this room, they expect you to be friends with everyone. So like you're having conversations with them, like it's totally normal. And I'm thinking to myself like, okay, look, everyone wants something from someone.
Yeah.
Right? What can I provide to these guys that would be of value to them? I had just worked at this virtual reality company. I'd shot some 360 video. VR is hot right now. These guys make music. They want to make dope music videos. I can make a VR music video. When in reality, I couldn't. Yeah. I was like, I'm going to tell them and I'm going to figure it out. Right? So I say that, and when they're like, yo, 12V, come here. So they bring ASAP 12V over, and he's like, yo, man, I want to do this video, whatever. And he's like, give me your phone. He puts his number in my phone. And it was really crazy. Like, we texted a little bit. It never really panned out.
Okay.
But then fast forward.
But there's a relationship established, right?
Mm-hmm. And fast forward, like, I see his Instagram, and he's posting Instagram pics like usual, but the location tag is Shadow Moses. So Shadow Moses, you would only know this if you're a mega nerd. Shadow Moses is the name of the starting island in Metal Gear Solid, which is like an amazing video game that I love.
Yeah.
I'm like, holy shit, this guy's a gamer. Right? I'm like, again,
mind blown,
but proving like what me and my co-founder are believing.
So only the real ones are gonna know where that location.
Right? So we're like, okay, this is cool. I have his phone number. Like, what can we do? And this was my senior fall when I decided to text him because they were going on tour for their Cozy Tapes concert. And I was like, look, man, I know you guys are coming to LA. We met last year. I won this pitch competition for this business where you can like come play video games. I sent him a picture of me in the check and everything. I was like, if you guys are going to be in LA and you have time, why don't you stop by my place? I didn't have a place yet, but I was like, again, I will figure it out.
I'll find a way.
If this happens, I will figure it out.
I'll rent a storage unit. I'll rent any space that I need.
Exactly. And he's like, cool, man, whatever. And then he like ends up texting me. He's like, look, we're not going to have time to like hang out in LA. And then he said something about like a Nintendo Switch. And I was like, oh, that's dope. Like, I have a Nintendo Switch too. And he's like, yeah, ASAP Nas wants one. I was like, wait, hold up. I got an extra Nintendo Switch for you guys if you want it. And I didn't have one. And Nintendo Switches were impossible to find.
Get at that time when they came out.
Yeah. So he was like, dope. Like, listen, I got tickets for you backstage, like however many you want for our concert in October, whatever. So I'm like, oh shit, not to get a Nintendo Switch. I drive to like 5 different Best Buys. I finally get one. And then ahead of time, I was like, look, I don't want to come off as like a fan. How do I come off on like mutual ground?
Yeah.
So I went and I bought everyone like different gaming collectibles that I think they would like. So for 12E, I bought him like a special edition Metal Gear Solid VR thing from like a hobby shop, and like I got them Nintendo Switch games. I ended up coming like with a duffel bag full of like gaming goodies, and I was like Santa. I was like, here, this is for you, ASAP Nas, because I know you wanted a Nintendo Switch, right? Wow. And I just became like super close with these guys backstage at this concert, and it struck a chord with them. And so then like Fast forward, I text 12. I'm like, yo, I'm going to be in New York around Christmas or after Christmas or whatever. This was senior fall. It was true. Like I had a meeting, but I didn't really need to go to the meeting. But I was like, I'm going to go to the meeting. I'm going to set this thing up because I need to prove to people that culture and gaming are coming together. So I'm like, yo, I'm going to be in New York, right? He's like, cool, we can hang out here. So fly to New York. I stream with him. I start his gaming brand, and like people were kind of like shocked, you know, that there are rappers playing video games on Twitch. Fast forward 6 months later, Drake and Ninja do the exact same thing. The internet blows up, and we made 3 deals on the phone as a result of that. One,
this is now at the time you're getting ready to launch the pop-up. Talk about timing.
Right? So we get Alienware, who's like, look, you guys identified this audience before anyone else did. We want to work with you. You guys know how to communicate to them. So they gave us all these like PCs. We had ViewSonic give us all our monitors, our projectors. They gave us cash. Like we got everything in the pop-up sponsored except for like the tables, which we bought from IKEA, and like the rent and utilities that we paid for. Right?
And to give us a ballpark, how much money worth of equipment would you say that would be, ballpark?
Like north of 120,000.
Just here you go.
Yeah.
Go make this work.
Yeah, and we had the $10,000 from the pitch competition, and then we raised that round with like the Hirsch Interactive Group, but it would not have been enough money. It was not anywhere close to that 120,000.
Yeah, so if they didn't give you guys the equipment, there's no way this would have came to life.
No, I just had to hustle and make it happen.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. That's unbelievable.
Thank you.
Yeah, I just hearing how this all lines up, and then wow, yeah, because I remember when Drake and Ninja went live, and that was just it shut down the internet. And then I think not long after that, then Travis Scott did one, or maybe that was part of the same stream or whatever.
Yeah,
but
Juju joined in.
Yeah, it just kind of like kept rolling, and people were going nuts over it.
Yeah,
and then now there is like this and then you got now Drake. He's invested in. What's
100
that?
Thieves, and then Players Lounge now too.
Yep.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
You're starting to see a lot of these cultures come together.
It's exciting, and I'm happy because it's like that's what I want.
Yeah.
Right? I want gaming to be socially accepted. I want it to be a lifestyle. Like I want to be able to wear the things that I like or talk about the things that I like with people that like the same things. Right.
Yeah.
That's why we're creating this brand and this business, is to like, elevate our platform and like really show to people that gaming is massive, it's successful, and everyone does it. It's not weird, right?
Yeah, it's not weird at all. It's now becoming like we said, like the cool thing to do.
Yeah.
You had mentioned earlier, and then just to go back on it, so obviously gamers could drop in, or they could pay to be a member. At the time, it was $40 a month, which gets you like that all access. How did you land on like the pricing? Did you feel like you could have charged a little bit more? Was this just a flip of a coin?
It was like $220. Yeah, I think people would pay for that.
Wow.
Yeah. We started with 35. We did 50. Then we were like, as we opened the door, we like reprinted the things, made it say like 50. Then we reprinted it again the next day, and it was 40. And it was pretty crazy.
And the pop-up went live, this was April of 2018?
Yeah. So right around Coachella.
Again.
We signed the pop-up space.
For how long?
For like 2.5 months or something like that. But we basically needed to do like build out, because the place that we got, the tenant had left everything in there. So we had to like move all that shit out. Then we had to get our own shit in there. And it was so stressful because like I went to Coachella, and then the weekend after Coachella was the launch. So I basically imagine you're at Coachella, you're on this high, you come back Monday and you're like, holy fuck.
I have to build out an entire space.
Yeah. So my mom, my family, everyone came in clutch.
Wow.
Huge. Like, again, like I said, I wouldn't really be here if it wasn't for the people that I can rely on and believed in me and sacrificed their time and helped me out,
Yeah.
And so like we built this crazy, like worked so many hours, built this thing, launched it. Launch night was so cool because there were so many people there, and there were people there that had found out like through Eventbrite that we didn't invite them. They just came through. Right. And then the next day we go and operate the pop-up, and some dude walks in And like we had a couple kids that were in there just like paying hourly. Some dude walks in and he's like, what is this place? I just moved here in the apartment across the street. And so we're like, oh, this is E-Coliseum, world's first esports gym. We tour him around. And he's like, all right, cool. Where do I sign up for a membership? We're like, what? He's like, yeah, I want to be a member. How do I sign up? Do you have a brochure or anything? We're like, yeah, we haven't printed the brochures yet. We never even thought of having a brochure, you know?
Yeah.
And we're like, let's just bring you up. Like he goes and he's like, okay, so I give you credit card or cash. And I'm like, fuck, we don't even have like a product in Shopify for membership yet, you know? So like we like make it happen. We sign him up, whatever. And then he leaves. And I remember me and my co-founder looking at each other and we're like, holy fuck. Like,
dude, we just got a membership. Yeah, we just got a member on this.
We started running around doing laps. It was crazy.
I'm curious, did you ever consider doing the pop-up more of like on the west side? Because I know there are some like actual gaming corporations out there where they do some design. Was that ever... Yeah. How did you land on downtown LA as the pop-up?
Downtown was just like, you know, I'm going to USC. It's easy commute. I can get people from the school to come there a lot easier to like, you know, help support it and stuff like that. And then just like the space that we got was pretty good. But looking back, like downtown, I wouldn't open it our first like actual venue in downtown.
No.
Yeah.
It was a good for that. The timing, right? Being in college, we're right down the street.
Exactly.
It's easy to get people to go there than across town to the west side. So while this pop-up is going, you guys do cash giveaways. You have pro gamers that are playing live from the location, which is amazing. That's just building on brand. You have Kickstradamas come in and customize Nike Air Force Ones on the spot. You know, obviously we've talked about how you wanted to integrate like this culture and gaming, but how is making this place an experience working in your favor versus just like a place for people to show up, play, and then leave?
Yeah, great question. I think like for us, we were just building what we wanted to make, right? We wanted it to be like a place where you could post pictures from and it wouldn't come off as like a nerdy place, right? Like you could take Instagram pictures. We would have cool events. Like we had some of the ASAP Mob guys come to like our first tournament. We would have kids from FaZe Clan FaZe Clan is like, by the way, they're massive, huge esports team. They're like driving Ferraris. They wear Supreme. Like they're super sick, right? So we had those guys like come out, and we just started forming relationships with people in the community in esports, and they just really loved what we were building. And like that pop-up really helped us build a presence in the industry as well as understand like what our customers wanted. So this was the hard part, actually. The pop-up wasn't working the way that we thought it was going to work. And so it caused like an existential crisis for us, because every day we would go in there and operate this thing and we would firsthand see that it wasn't doing what we wanted it to do. And we're like, oh, this is a failure, right? But looking back, we were just focusing on the failure, not seeing what was actually working, which were the events. So like, sure, like we had people signing up as members. Like it was good, but it wasn't great. So we were like, fuck,
we're failing. We're not doing it right.
Exactly. And then we would do these tournaments or these events where we would have like a line of kids around the block before it started. Like 2 hours before the event started, kids were showing up. And it was like the same kind of kids that would go stand in line at Supreme, right? And we would go and do these tournaments and kids would come, they'd find it on Instagram, or they like went on the 10th page of Google searching for Fortnite tournaments and they found ours. They would show up, maybe alone. And if they're alone, they'd meet other kids that were alone. They'd become best friends after like competing and like through this camaraderie relationship.
Yeah.
Come back every week and bring their friends. And it was growing. And we were like, that's so cool. But why is this not working, right? But looking back, we should have been like, this is so cool. What do we do with this?
Yeah, keep marinating that. Instead of getting so caught up in what you think is the perfect plan, what is supposed to happen.
Yes.
Let's set this place up. We know what we're supposed to do, and then let's just try to like have fun with it and figure out what works, what doesn't. What do people want more of? What do people want less of?
Yes. Yeah. But the good thing was that like, you know, unintentionally, like we kept feeding that event funnel, and like now we have all this data on the events. And so like, we're altering the business model to focus on that. So like without getting into the details, because we're going to have like a massive summer launch type campaign explaining like where we're going now.
Yeah.
Basically, the model is centered around experiences with like a permanent location. So it's kind of like Museum of Ice Cream type of a vibe mixed with like boutique stuff. So I'm being vague just because like I want to like tell this story, and
when the time's right. You don't want to give too much away.
Yeah, and I don't want to like it would extend the podcast.
There's gonna be things that are gonna and there's gonna be things that are gonna happen between now and then. And you know what we'll do when it does launch? I do another series called What They Don't See. It's an inside look of where creatives create, and so it's like MTV Cribs meets Creative Spaces. Oh, so we come to you, and I have a camera guy.
I've seen that.
That's what we'll do when you're ready to launch. We'll come in. We'll shoot some fire content.
Dope. I love that. Let's go, baby.
We'll do a whole walkthrough. Like,
yeah,
I already got like engines flaring thinking about that.
Yeah.
Can you give a little taste of where is it going to be in LA? Can you say that? It will be in LA.
It's going to be in LA.
And it's permanent or another pop-up?
Permanent.
Wow.
So like the pop-up opened a lot of doors for us. Like,
it was 2 months altogether, right? Two and a half months.
Technically it was 24 working days because like it was open.
Set up and then breakdown after the events.
That too, plus like it was open Thursday through Sunday because we were both graduating last year. So like literally one weekend we closed because it was graduation.
Yes, you couldn't.
Yeah, exactly, right?
Yeah.
Or like I remember one of the moments that was really insane for us was it was a week of finals, so we didn't promote any of the events, and we didn't even announce it on the Instagram. Like we just said like, okay, it's happening here. We just posted it, but we didn't hype it up.
Yeah.
And kids showed up, and it was still a big event. We were like, okay, fuck, that's cool. Yeah. But we were so focused on the thing that wasn't working that we didn't really understand that. But I would say like an advice here is like really don't get caught up in the bullshit. Just think about and focus on the things that are working and elevate those and escalate those. Don't get married to an idea.
And I think that kind of stems back to the beginning of this conversation of the flow of the ocean of like meditation of just like what's working, what's not. You know, I think sometimes for a lot of people we can get so heart and set on this one concept and this one opportunity that we're not looking around at the beauty of like what else could we potentially go to? What is the next pivot? Because it's not supposed to be this one step in front of the other. There's got to be a couple left shifts, step forward, maybe two backwards, then to the right and up. And it's like this big game of like going up and down and around. It's this huge maze. Yeah. But yeah, I think that's a great advice is like don't get married to it. Just like be open and just be willing to kind of go and see where the road takes you.
It's not the end of the world.
I mean, thinking about esports, you know I had saw that the Staples Center had hosted an event there. That's 21,000 plus people. Where do you predict this industry going in the next 3 to 5 years?
That's a great question. I think what you're going to start to see happen is like as kids are growing up and becoming spenders in the marketplace, so like my little cousins, for example, that are like sophomores or juniors in high school, they're watching Twitch and they're not watching football or basketball. They're talking about video games like we would be talking about, like going and shooting the shit and throwing hoops down. We're like, whatever it comes to sports, they're looking at esports in that light. They're consuming content like that on YouTube. So as they get older, the things that they're going to do is just like, you take what we do with sports, replace that, put in esports, and then throw in a mix of like movies and entertainment. It's everything. It's content, it's competition, it's so many things. So like you're going to see these arenas opening up specifically for gaming, right? Yeah. We're going to have we already have local teams.
Isn't the big one Overwatch right now in
Burbank? Yeah, like it's like, for example,
did you ever go there? Did you ever go there to like oh, you did.
So like the
who am I kidding? Why am I even asking? Of course you did.
We're friends with like the commissioner now. And so like we took Nike there and like toured them around with the commissioner, and it was like a whole thing. But like you're going to start to see, you know, big teams in LA. Like, I mean, you already have like, for example, Robert Kraft owns a team in the Overwatch League. Yeah, your boy. Baby. And then like they're going to have home stadiums and away stadiums. So like the Overwatch League, for example, they're starting in 2020. Teams cost like $30 or $40 million to buy in this league, and they'll have like people like they have like the Shanghai Dragons or whatever, I can't remember their name, playing against the LA Valiant. So LA Valiant will fly to Shanghai to play them. Then they'll fly back to compete against like the London Spitfire, who flew from London to play them in LA Live at the Microsoft Theater, which is their home arena for LA.
Wow.
It's legit now.
So this is now international. This is not just like intercity or like state. This is now becoming international. Teams are flying around for it.
And so like my little cousins that are in high school that are wearing Supreme, V-Lone, Off-White, and watching all these like Twitch videos, like their celebrities are not Cristiano Ronaldo, it's Ninja, right? When they get older, they're not going and buying tickets to basketball games. They're buying tickets to, you know, esports competitions. And what are they doing when they want to go out? They're coming to E-Coliseum, right? We're like the third place. So like, for example, Starbucks is a third place for people, the place between home and school. It's a place where you go meet people, whatever it may be. That's your coffee shop, right? For some people, it's like places like Soho House or WeWork, right? A third place between like your work and your home. That's what we're going to be for gamers. And like the gaming industry is so massive that this is not like a niche that we're targeting. Gaming is like a $138 billion industry. It's growing at like a 13% compounded annual growth rate. It's the largest entertainment industry in the world. So it's shocking to me that no one is creating a platform or a place for these people if it's a massive, massive industry.
And that's where E-Coliseum comes in.
Yes, sir.
Scoops them on up.
Yeah.
Wow. It's so cool for me to hear this because, like I said, growing up as a kid, loving gaming, for me, it was, I'll never forget it, man. It was kind of like this moment of, you know, when I was going to college, I just had this realization of like, it's time to like, it's like Toy Story when he goes off, when he puts his toys away and he goes to school, you know, he goes off to college. That's what I felt. I told myself, I said, I'm going to college now. Like, I love gaming. And I had that balance of like,
what did you play, by the way?
Everything.
Okay.
I would, well, man, I'm trying to think of the first games. I mean, I used to borrow my cousins like Nintendo 64, so like Mario Bros, like all that stuff. But then I got a PS2, and that's when I started to get into a lot of different games. But then Xbox Live was really where I started.
Yeah.
I went through like Counter-Strike, PC,
nice,
Team Fortress.
You're an OG.
OG. I played World of Warcraft when I played it. I swear, in the best time of my life, like 8th grade. And I loved it so much. I said, I can't keep playing this game. It's too good. Like 20 hours is just, you know what I mean? Like days would go by and I'm like, fuck, I got to stop playing this. And then in high school, really got into like Xbox 360. I was playing Halo 3, you know,
legendary game.
Man, Call of Duty, Grand Theft Auto, like all those games. I credit Grand Theft Auto for teaching me how to drive. So by the time I drove a car, I swear I knew what I was doing. But going to college, I was like, I'm going to school now. This is a whole new world for me. I need to leave this behind. And so it was kind of like this closing of the chapter. And ever since, because then you figure those 4 years in college, I'm not really gaming except when I go home on like college breaks.
Yeah.
And then when I was graduating, then wanting to launch this podcast, I knew all the time and energy this was going to take. So I've had to kind of step away, but I don't even know if I've ever really said this on camera because I haven't been able to have the conversation like today. But one thing that I would really like to see happen for myself when I can kind of get this to its, you know, sustaining itself and like as a full business and I can make a full-time living doing it,
right,
is then starting up my own Twitch channel and like kind of getting back into it. And I don't know, it's just people love content and that'd be such a cool type of world to test the waters. And I got a lot of things I need to cross off before I kind of get into that world, but I definitely could see myself trying to step into that at some point, just maybe once every 2 weeks, like stream or I don't know. But I love gaming. At the core of it, man. Like, actually, I had a buddy. He just tweeted this out. I don't like pulling out my phone, but let me just read the tweet because it makes total sense since we're talking about it. He tweeted this out and it was so good. Shout out to Hunter Line if you hear this. I don't think you're gonna hear it, but I'll just give you a shout out. He's from Connecticut. He tweeted. He actually screenshotted this. He said, I don't know. The tweet said, I don't know what's more sad, the fact that I said this at 18 years old or that it's even more relevant at 25. He had tweeted, ready? But this is he was tweeting a picture and this was posted from him. I'm like calling him out, but I love it. I love a Hunter. He said, I would give anything to take a break from the real world, hang out with my friends, stay up late playing Call of Duty or Left 4 Dead, eating barbecue chicken, drinking Mountain Dew, and just not care.
Is that at 18?
Yeah, he said that at 18, and I mean he's 25 now, but he's saying, how is it that this is still relatable?
Yeah.
And I guess what I'm just trying to say, what that tweet was just trying to say, it's like, if you grew up gaming, that's just something that's never gonna leave, and it fires me up because what is now happening as you're talking about your cousins that are in high school, that wasn't a thing when I was in high school. As you were in high school, like.
It wasn't.
My
cool.
parents didn't give me shit about gaming, but like that was not even a question. There was that real small percentage of people that were making montages on Halo on YouTube, and like I was so into watching them, but I was not competing at that level. It's just so cool for me to kind of see where this world is going, and I'm just so fired up that this was like the first esports conversation I've ever had, because I want to get more. I want to get like an actual streamer. I want to get somebody that maybe is like the team manager, So this to me was really just a finally taking a step in the direction of this esports world, because I know it's going to be massive, and I would love to be one of the early people to start pulling in these conversations and do my part of help spread the message of where this industry is going, because I believe in it. I know it's going to be huge. And it's just so cool to see, especially what you're doing with the E-Coliseum. Like, I can't wait to see that's going to become in the next couple of years, man. That's going to be fucking huge, bro.
Thank you.
You guys are onto something big.
I really appreciate it. Like, I'm getting goosebumps.
Yeah, you're gonna be big. It's gonna be big. I know that for a fact. Couple more questions, and then we'll kind of wrap this up. If you could have a lifetime brand deal with any shoe company, who would it be?
Oh wow, dude. I don't really know if I'm allowed to say that. Yeah, I can't say.
We could skip over that if that's possibly breaking an interest of something.
But I will say that we have helped and worked with Nike reached out to like our info email after the pop-up.
Wow.
And we were like, that's our spam email, so this is fake.
Yeah.
But we went on LinkedIn and we're like, holy shit, this
Nike.
Is
real.
Yeah.
Wow.
And they're like, I can't really say what happened, but they were just like
little taste.
Yeah.
A little taste of what could come.
They're like, we want to talk to you guys. And so we took them, toured them around, and then like the co-founder of Riot Games, who's also the co-creator of League of Legends, which is the largest esport in the world.
They're based out here, right?
Yeah.
West Side?
Yeah, so Mark Merrill, he's an advisor to the company. And the way I met him was actually he was in a class at USC speaking there. And he was speaking in the class and he said, like, someone needs to make a business like, and then he described E-Coliseum. So I went up to him after class and I was like, hey, Mark, my name is Rustin. You basically explained my business. It's nice to meet you, right? And he was like, what are you doing tomorrow? And he had me come into the office and it just formed this like mentor-mentee relationship.
Fire.
So like we took him there and then I got to present to like the chief design officer and it was like in the LCS arena. It was absurd, and like we're doing like we have stuff going with like major apparel brands. Hopefully something is gonna happen.
Dope.
So yeah, but
so come summer 2019, we're gonna see a lot of things start popping out.
Hopefully, yeah. But I will say like one of my favorite sneakers of all time is the Air Yeezy 2 Red October.
Fire. That's a classic.
Yeah.
That's a classic.
Classic Yeezus era.
I don't know how Kanye would feel about Drizzy with don't wear no 350s around me. Calling him out like
yeah.
Man, that's crazy. Couple more questions. If money were no issue, how would you live your life differently?
If money were no issue, I think that's a great question because there's so many places that I want to be with others. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like it's like different geographical regions. Like I want to have a place in like a snowy mountaintop.
Yeah.
I want like a tropical beach area. And I want like a dope city apartment. It's crazy though, like all these regions are based off like experiences I've had in video games. So like in Super Mario Sunshine, there's like a level where it's like on a beach and it's during a sunset. And so when I meditate, sometimes I go there because that's where I want to be, right? Mm-hmm. Or like a game that I played a lot when I was a kid was SSX Tricky, which is an amazing snowboarding game. And like I want to be in that SSX Tricky world with like all my cousins and people that I love and people that are my friends, like we're all snowboarding in this dope gear, you know, or like the city apartment. It's like, you know, when you have the dope apartment in Grand Theft Auto, right? And you're overlooking the city, stuff like that. So in terms of like regionality and like where I would live, that's probably it. But what would I be doing as like a career? I think what I love about video games is that I can experience things that I can't experience in real life with the people that I love. So like I can't go and explore one of Mars's moons with like my cousins, but I can do that in Destiny, right? So like being able to just experience life and in ways that like you need money to experience it. That's probably what I would be doing with the people around me. The relationships are the most important thing in your life.
I think most people don't, if they've never went into gaming, they don't realize like the community that is built from gaming. Like you build relationships online with people.
It's a camaraderie.
It's a camaraderie. Dude, the first time I ever came to LA was to visit a homie through Xbox.
No way. So you're
Xbox.
Mad OG.
Yeah. Oh yeah, bro. I was like, that's the thing, man. Like I was growing up, like I played sports, I gamed, I like tried to be fresh. I had like all the hottest clothes. Got best dressed of the class. Like
really?
I was like, man. I had my feet, that low key flex, but I had my feet in a little bit of everything. So, but yeah, dude, my first time coming to LA was when I was 16, my sophomore year. And I came in and stayed with a homie that I met through Xbox. But
that's so cool.
There was like a community of us, like my buddies from high school that I actually like grew up with, and then he was also part of our community. You know what I'm saying? Like you know how it is. So it's like we had this like group of us, and so it wasn't even like we would all like Skype together and just shoot the shit. So it's like when I got to LA, it wasn't even weird, bro. I was like, oh, what's up, bro? Like finally we're meeting, but what are we gonna go do? Like there wasn't that. It wasn't like meeting somebody through Tinder or like an online dating app. It was like there was already so much already established that it was like, all right, we're finally in person. Like, let's go fucking shoot the shit or let's go do that. But freaking gaming, man. There's just, I guess what I was trying to say is there's just like a real bond that relationships that come from like the Xbox and I mean any gaming in general.
It's heavy. Like, so I'd either be a streamer or I'd be a designer. I'd love to create like some sort of a fashion label or like a shoe company, whatever.
It's gonna happen. What's your
DJ
Oh,
I would love to explore.
How big was that with Marshmello?
That was huge
for gaming,
dude.
Huge.
12 million, 10 million people at the same time watching this. That's the largest concert ever.
Yo, that's crazy. I just thought of that right now. I didn't even think about that beforehand.
Like,
damn.
The person I look up to a lot of people, but one of the people that I would love to like model my career possibly around is like Virgil Abloh. He's a multi-hyphenate. I think being a multi-hyphenate is so exciting because it allows you to like, when you live in multiple worlds, it actually makes you more creative. You can create products because you're not living within the boundaries of being just an entrepreneur. You are a businessman, but you also have you're also given the opportunity to design and create the clothing lines, and then you're also a DJ who like mixes music and produces music. That would be so exciting to live in that world, which is,
and I think you're starting to see it. I think you're starting to see it now more happen where people are like Kanye, another example. He can do fashion, he can do music. Like I think now you're starting to see people in this world do a lot of different things, not put all their eggs in one basket. And if it's of interest, like don't allow themselves to be put into a box. At the end of the day, it's like, you're just going to get a lot of shit. Like, dude, you make music. You're not supposed to be starting a video game company. It's like, no, I'm going to start a video game company, you know? So I think that's kind of the fun part about the world we're living in is that you can do whatever the fuck you want.
Exactly.
It's just it's super interesting time to live. What's your definition of success?
That's a great question. I think the definition of success has changed for me as I've matured. Initially, it was like very clear. It's, you know, I was trying to prove myself to others that I was successful. But in the past like year and a half, 2 years, I've started to kind of like, as I've learned more about myself, I try and understand like, what is it that I want for myself? What would make myself feel successful? And I think it's proving to myself that I can create something that a lot of people find value in and making the impossible possible. Those hard challenges is what drives me so much. Like, for example, we didn't actually talk about this, but like football, I had played a season of football in high school as a kicker. I taught myself from YouTube videos how to kick. I made the team. It was a crazy experience. I thought maybe I can keep this thing alive when I go to USC. First 2 weeks of freshman year, I would sneak into the athletic building and I gave everyone my highlight tapes. I finally got a meeting with the special teams coach and he's like, look, you're annoying the shit out of everyone here, but we've seen the tapes. They're good. We don't need a kicker though. We need a punter. If you can do that, we have a tryout for you in March. So I basically had 6 months to teach myself how to become a Division I punter, which is crazy because like I had a season of high school football kicking experience.
Yeah.
But I taught myself. I got pretty good, and I ended up making the team. And so that was like really gratifying for me because I realized that like I can really tap into like this grit and drive and make. I'm driven by like these things that seem impossible. Like a Division I athlete when I was not even recruited for the position that I ended up being in.
Yeah.
And I was recruited for D3 schools. Like it was crazy. It was to the point that when I made the team, that wasn't actually what I wanted to do with the rest of my life. And that's when I got into flipping sneakers and left. Like, so I guess my definition of success is doing what people, well, then it goes off and saying like that. Now I'm trying to prove to other people. But for me, it's like, what do I think is impossible? How do I make that seem possible? And then how do I like create something that's really valuable and leave a legacy and leave a mark?
I love that. I love that. Before I get into closing questions, this is when I reverse the role. I allow the guest to ask me any one question. It could be about something we talked about today or something you want to know about me. 2 rules. 1, it can't be a question that I already asked you today.
Okay.
And number 2, it can't be directly about the podcast.
Okay.
So any one question.
Got it. Let me think about this for a second. Okay. So, would you rather be rich or famous?
Ooh. Would I rather be rich or famous? The famous part, there's so many other like things that go below that. Is it famous for the right reason? Is this
right? Because it could lead to wealth, right?
For sure. Yeah. I mean, if we're just looking black and white, rich for sure. Because financially, I would be able to do everything that I want to do at a massive scale. Famous to me is not really like, I think it. I would love to keep growing my brand and myself, and I mean, really, if I'm being completely honest, like the goal is to financially be able to make a living doing what I love, which is doing this, having conversations, making content, doing all that. So that's like the goal. To impact people along the way, that's just like a cherry on top. If people find value in it and they care to watch it and they get fired up and they learn and they can tap into conversations that they've never heard, or somebody listens today and learns all this shit about gaming that they go buy an Xbox, like that's just a bonus. Like, awesome. I'm down. I'm not starting a podcast to become famous. I'm not doing these YouTube series because I want to become famous. The idea of being known for something of what I'm doing sounds awesome. Like, if I had a kid approach me, I haven't had it a lot, but there have been times when I've been in public places in LA where I was at a concert for this dude Kyle. I was at Complex Con, and like kids, 2-3 people will come up to me like, "Yo, you do that podcast?" I heard about. I'm like, "Yo, what?" So like that's super dope to me, but
because you're providing value to people.
Yeah, and that's dope. But to be at a level like Kylie Jenner and not be able to even go to a local coffee shop without being hounded, like that doesn't sound cool to me. Like that's horrible. Right. So as long my answer is definitely financially, because it would allow me to do all the things that I'm doing at a scale, not because it would buy me a Lambo, not because I would be able to fly a private jet. Like, I'd be able to do what I'm already doing now at scale. And if famous or like being known for what I'm creating comes along the way, like that's cool, that's great. As long as it's for the right reasons and it's not some dumb shit. Yeah, I'm fine with it. Like that's cool, but. To me, definitely. That's a great question. It would for sure be financially, because it's just going to be that key to lock to doing everything I want to do at scale, and it would just help speed things up a lot faster. Yeah. But my answer would have been different. 3-4 years ago. Still would have been financially, but I would have been like, yeah, dude, I want to get a Lambo. I want to get like, it would have been more about the material things.
Yes.
I'm much more of a minimalist now.
Right.
I'm very just like, what do I need? What do I not need? And I try to keep it just very minimal. It clears my headspace. I don't have all this shit hanging around the room. Everything has a purpose that I own in my life. And so I just don't need as much material things.
Right.
Like I can't even tell you the last, like I used to love shoes. I used to work at Finish Line growing up.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I was selling kicks, baby. Boom, boom, boom. But, growing up, I bought a lot of sneakers and I don't buy as many anymore just because I know that money could help me here with the business or there. And so, yeah, I don't know. Financially would be for sure my answer, though.
Yeah.
That's a great question.
I like asking that question because either answer works.
Yeah.
It's more so like, what's underneath
the reasoning.
Right.
Yeah.
Because when you see the reasoning, then you can kind of understand why someone operates the way that they do.
And that's why I ask 2 questions before, would you live your life any differently if money was an issue? Because I've found that if somebody was like, yeah, I'd quit my job and do this, this, and that, it's like, there's the problem.
Mm-hmm.
Money, once again, I'm not here to tell people how to live their life. I'm just here to document journeys and have great conversations and just like hope that it inspires and it's valuable to people. But to me, it's a red flag that if you gave me right now $10 million right now, run me a check. Would I stop podcasting? No.
Yeah.
Would I stop making YouTube videos? No. Would I stop anything of what I'm doing? No. I just would be able to scale it.
Exactly.
So it's like if money is the reason you would quit, if I give you enough money that you would just quit doing what you're doing, maybe that's not the right fit. Maybe there's something else you'd be doing. If I gave you $10 million right now, you would just E-Coliseum would be in New York and LA come spring in the summertime. So it's like, yeah, the money is just always a big indicator. Are people doing what they should be doing, or maybe should they do something differently?
Yeah, because if you were to give me that check right now, the goal is like, how do I create more value, right? And build something that's incredible. So it's not going to be, all right, I got 10 million. Let me go get that city penthouse that I was talking about, right? Yeah. No, the goal is like, I want to prove to myself that I can be like a successful start with entrepreneurship, succeed in that, and then go and become successful in different domains. Right. Because I feel like there's so much that I want to do, and going and accomplishing those challenges will make life exciting and enjoyable,
And as you start to get a grip on like the path that E-Coliseum is going, and you start building out the right team around you, and you can step away and not have to spend 100 hours on it, that's when the second venture happens. And then that's where the third, and then that's when, it all will just build slowly but surely. That's kind of what I was telling you about before. I started out as an audio podcast. Then I started doing visuals. Yeah. Then I got comfortable and I kind of know the format. Now I'll start up another series. So it's like, once you start to get grip on one thing, then you add another, and then it all just kind of intermixes, and it allows you to step away from that main thing and not get so caught up in it that by the time you revisit it, it's like you hit the refresh button. You're seeing it from a different angle. Yeah. It's like you've meditated almost. But yeah, there's no doubt in my mind, you will find a way to slowly finesse all these different ventures of whatever is of interest to you.
I think Jack Dorsey is another great example. Yeah. Like, I wouldn't create 2 companies at the same time or do 2 things at the same time, but like, successful businessman, he is like, he wears Rick Owens like dope clothes. Yep. He's very like into meditation, walking, wellness, running. And then he also is very creative, and he has these incredible companies that provide a lot of value to people. Yeah, I know. He's a savage. Legend. He's an absolute, and he's got our beards, bro.
I know. I didn't even get to say that in the beginning of the podcast. I usually give props to any bearded men that come on here, or woman. If there's a woman that has a beard, I'll give you props too. But I always give a special shout out. It's always plus 2 points when I get bearded brothers on the podcast. Closing questions. 1, where can people find you on social media, and where can they find E-Coliseum on social media?
Yeah, so you can just find me at Rustin, but it's RUST1 instead of an I and then N. So it's just Rustin with a 1 instead of the I, like the number 1. And then E-Coliseum is at, and this is going to be difficult, we're changing the name, by the way, but it's ECOLISEUM TV on all socials. So E-Coliseum TV. And then we have a podcast. I don't mean to like.
Please drop it.
It's called Hype Geek.
Drop it.
Check it out. It's basically like if you want to stay in touch with what's happening with esports as well as where culture comes in.
Yes.
Check that stuff out.
Let's go.
It's a lot of fun.
Let's go.
Yeah.
I'll have it all linked up. And yeah, I always love people. I want you to plug up everything that you're doing because maybe there's somebody that listens to this and dude, there's so much room for everybody to win in podcasting right now. Like if you're doing specific to esports, like I want people to go there because I'm not doing an esports podcast. So it's like, please like drop that. But if you guys and gals are listening, all these socials will be tagged up, but make sure you go drop bearded man emojis in Rustin's IG so he knows you came from the Bearded Man podcast. Before I ask the last question, I just want to say thank you for taking the time to come in today. This has been an incredible podcast. Kind of just doing the research for your story. And obviously, like I told you, like I was just excited to get somebody in esports in here for the first time. This is awesome. Like I just loved, even though it was a 2-month pop-up. I'm not even trying to shine light and say it was only 2 months. Like just the fact that you executed a pop-up for for the world's first esports gym, bro. You guys are gonna. I'm so curious to see what comes in the summertime. And we are for sure doing some type of like interview within that space. And we'll try to help get out as much content of that when it rolls out. But whatever you guys got going, man, I'm excited to see it. And I just appreciate you taking the time to be part of the project today.
Bobby, thank you, man. I really appreciate you like taking the time out to have me on here. And also like it really shows how much someone cares about what they do when you come in and it's like so prepared and you know so much about me. Like it was really nice. I actually really appreciate this a lot. Thank you.
That's fucking awesome, man. Last question for you. For somebody who's listening that hasn't found that passion, hasn't found that purpose out just yet, what's the best 2 or 3 pieces of advice you'd give to them?
I would say you gotta find your like zone of genius or whatever. So the way that some people describe that is like, what is it that you're good at and what is it that you like? It's very simple, right? And it kind of comes off trite, but for most people, they can't figure out where those two things lie. So what I recommend doing is like, what do you spend most of your time that you enjoy? Then you'll figure out what that is. So like for me, it was video games. Okay, once you get there, try and think about what are some problems within the broader scope of what you're doing, right? Like, let's say it's makeup. What are some issues with makeup products that you like? Is it branding that you don't like? Is it the fact that some of this stuff isn't cruelty-free? Is it the shipping? What is a pain point that you feel like you can solve? And then from there, build a business around what you're really good at. So like for me, I was really good at forming communities. So that's why I was like, oh, there's a problem there's no community center. I can connect with a lot of people, bring them in, make something happen. So that's kind of like where this was like a genesis of how I figured out where I wanted to go. Yeah.
Rustin Sotoodeh, thanks for coming in, brother.
Thank you, Bobby. This is great.
Hey, bearded brothers sticking together, my man.
Let's go, man.
We'll catch you guys next time.
Peace.